What is up, everybody? Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, here for another Ginger Runner Live. A very exciting one tonight. We're messing with some new software because I had to download the software that I normally use. I had to re-download it because, of course, they blocked me from using it. So if there's a bit of a delay or any sort of lag, let me know in the chat room because the software it doesn't seem to want to behave quite right. So we might run into a little bit of technical stuff tonight. Regardless, it's episode 86 of Ginger Runner Live. Very excited about tonight because we have Magdalena Boulet. Magda, she's an incredible athlete, a fantastic runner. We're going to talk to her all about this year's races. She has won nearly all of them. Western States, UROC, the most recent. We're going to talk to her about that and talk to her about what's coming up. Very excited about tonight's show. Grab an adult beverage or any beverage, really. Sit back, relax, and get ready for tonight's Ginger Runner Live. Let's get this show on the road. Ginger Runner. Yay! Thank you, everybody, for joining us once again Monday night live. Tonight's guest, I'm very excited to have her on the show. She's an incredible athlete. I've been following her now for quite a while. Running ultras and winning them. That seems to be her MO. Joined by Magdalena Boulet. Magda, what's going on? How are you?
I am so stoked to be on this show. I've got a really soft spot for gingers, so my best friend is a ginger, so I finally made it here. That's pretty cool.
This is great. I like guests that like gingers because I feel like I've had some that don't like us, but we're a dying breed. So thank you very much for coming on the show. I'm super excited to talk to you about all things ultra, and I know that you also work at GU Energy and talk to you about kind of the process in creating stuff like that. First and foremost, you come from a long-distance road background. Am I correct?
That's right. I spent most of the last decade, about 15 years, running on the road as well as on the track. Anything from a 5K to the marathon was my specialty, and have really enjoyed that in the last 15 years.
And you have quite the resume from that world. With that sort of resume and that sort of clout, what brought you to the trails? What brought you to ultra marathons?
You know, time in my life, where I was, met the right people at the right time on the right trail and fell in love. And just as I thought, my marathon and road career was coming to an end, a new door opened up, and here we are. I really had no idea this was going to be in my cards, and just living it up right now.
Did you always train on the trails? Was it something that was just a part of your regular training regime, being focused so solely on speed roads and marathon distances and stuff like that? Did you ever get the training in on the trails?
Absolutely. You know, I live in an area where it's really difficult not to get on trails. It's you're surrounded by by fire roads and single trucks, and so it was a staple. 80% of my training, even for the roads and track and field, was on trails. I definitely did some marathon specific work on bike paths and roads, but that actually was something that I had to really work at to get myself on roads. Trails were just naturally really easy to get to.
And being such a world-class athlete and Olympian, what was it like transitioning to something on such a global scale to, I don't want to say ultras on a smaller scale, because it definitely has a global stage, but what was it like transitioning from such a high-profile sport to something a little bit more low-key, but still has some clout in inner circles?
Yeah, I call it intimate circle.
Yeah, intimate, perfect.
Yeah. It's, I mean, going to UTMB this year, watching that race really opened my eyes. But I remember my first time I went to a local half marathon with a friend who has done trail racing for a while, and said, you should really, come with me. It's a great training run. It's a little hilly. And that was the first time I walked in a race. It was a humbling experience. I couldn't believe that it was happening to me. I said, what am I? I'm walking. This is not runnable. Despite that experience, I really wanted more of it. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it's such a common phrase that I hear a lot of road athletes talk about with trails is that they don't like it because you have to walk, or going up hills and it slows you down too much. You want to focus on speed. Was it something that you had to learn to embrace? Is it something that you're continually working on to get better at, or are you focused on not never walking anymore on hills and getting things done as fast as possible?
At first, I really had to make peace with it, that it was okay. Now I'm fully embracing it and actually trying to get good at it. But, for the longest time, I felt that, I wasn't good when I was good enough when I was walking. I had to try running it. But after, few talks with some people that have a lot more experience than me in trail racing, I've learned that, well, not only are you conserving more energy, but it's to my benefit to really learn how to be efficient power hiking. And some races, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to run through it. So
Right.
really find that balance. But now I'm over it. I'm embracing it. And if anything, it's my goal to get really good at it in the next year.
Well, I mean, it seems to be working in your favor, winning some of the biggest races in ultra and in trail running in general. Do you have a coach? I'm sure you did at one point. Do you continue to have a coach now that you've transitioned into ultras? And has the training been dramatically different for you? And has it taken some getting used to?
Yes, a lot of during my marathon years and road running and track, I worked with Coach Jack Daniels, and I have adopted his training philosophy and training principles into my trail racing and training for ultras. That being said, I have been working with Ian Sherman on really, dialing in what I need to do for some of the big races, since I don't have that much experience. And not only has been one of the most consistent ultra runners in the world, but I really like his style of coaching. So we have a great exchange of just philosophies, and really enjoys talking to him about training. But a lot of the training that I have done in the past really carries over to ultra marathons, and I really continue with the routine that I had in the past. It's just a matter of fine tuning and really getting the specificity of whatever I'm preparing for. So a race like Western States might require very different training for me than something like UTMB or CCC. I haven't done UTMB yet, but CCC was a different animal, and that was a learning experience where I figured out that, well, I'm going to have to change a lot of my training if I ever want to toe the line of UTMB.
That's amazing. Those of you who are watching live, again, we have Magda Boulet on the show tonight. Super honored to have her. And she will be answering your questions as well. If you have questions during this live stream, ask them in the chat room. I do have a bit of delay on my end, but not hers. For some reason, the new software is slowing me down by about a second or so. So I will try to get your questions as quickly as possible. We have a great question already from Kimasabe75, a frequent viewer of the show. Magda, do you feel that ultra or trail races have given you a second running career? How does your road experience help or hurt you on the trails?
Very good question. I really, like I was saying earlier, I felt that entering the world scene of ultra marathons has given me a second life. In 2012, I did not make the Olympic team in the marathon, and I was very close to walking away from the competitive world of running. I felt like it was time for me to maybe just get out the door, enjoy running, and just be normal.
Right.
However, that's just not me. I can't do that. And luckily, I met the right people and found that there was a great opportunity for me to really use what I have done for the past 20 years and transfer it into ultra marathons. And I really think it has helped me. I think that a common ingredient that you have to have is you have to have the love for the sport. So, I love running. I love the grind. I love getting up in the morning and, being attached to my routine. It's something that I just feel I can't live without. So I think all of it really helps me continue in the sport, but definitely it has given me a second chance, and I'm running with it literally.
Yeah. Do you foresee ultra or trail running becoming some sort of an Olympic event, or getting to that caliber?
Oh, that would be so awesome. I always, people always ask me about my Olympic experience, and why the marathon was the choice for me to train for the Olympics. And I always laugh and say, well, if they had something longer, I probably would have tried it, but that was a long I wish I'm still I still would like to see cross country, in the Olympics. It's something that I feel it belongs in there. So I think it's a long shot getting this in, but if it ever makes it there, I will definitely give it a go.
So you mentioned wanting something longer than a marathon back in those days. Is that something that you were drawn to? Is these extreme distances? Did you ever train while you were training for the marathon? Did you ever train at distances longer than a marathon? Was that ever a part of your routine?
I think it just fits my lifestyle and my personality. I definitely enjoy the really long runs. My staple workouts are long tempo or broken up tempo runs that are pretty long, and Sunday long run. Those are my two favorite workouts. So naturally, I was really drawn to the longer stuff. Also, when I do my training, it's a lot easier. I'm a morning person. I like to run the first thing, when I wake up, and it's a lot easier to do mileage in the morning versus speed work. Your body can naturally just wake up in the first mile or two, and then you can get going, and then the rest of the day it's just on cloud nine. So
Right.
it fits my personality really well. My longest run for when I was training for marathons was always a little bit longer than the distance itself, despite my coach always telling me that physiologically I didn't have to do it, but it was something that I really enjoyed, and he always let me do it. So 28 miles was what I would do. Most marathoners, elite marathoners, will not go above 22, 24. So naturally, I was going, in that direction. I just never really met the right people to introduce me to the competitive side of ultra running when I was younger.
There's a great question from Charmin Ultra, who I'm guessing is Ian, in the chat room. Question for Magda: what feels like a bigger achievement out of being an Olympian or winning one of the largest ultras or the most global ultra stage, Western States 100? Can you even compare them?
It's such a tough question. Someone asked me that a week after winning Western States, and it really depends. I feel it depends where you are in your life. At that time, I spent 10 years training for the Olympics, and that was an obsessive goal. And, I dedicated, every single minute in my life towards that goal. And when I did make the team, it just was such a relief, and it was an incredible feeling, despite not doing very well at the Olympics. Western States, on the other hand, kind of snuck up on me. I always knew about the race. There's so much history. I live in the Bay Area. I never really imagined myself doing that race, but always said that if I was going to do 100 miles, that was going to be it. If I had a choice of doing one and only, that would be it. Watching Ann Trayson, just locally, winning that race 17 times, it was definitely a big goal for me. And going into that race and being my first 100-mile race ever was very intimidating. I definitely did not feel as confident as going into my Olympic marathon.
Sure.
Well, they're very different, and I don't think that I can say that one is more important to me than the other. They're very incredible experiences and journeys that led to, something that I will always cherish.
I mean, they've been fantastic to follow, especially as a spectator, to see someone make the transition and make it so beautifully and make such an impact in both sports. I think that's really great. One thing I really wanted to know comes down to strategy. When you're running a marathon at an Olympic level, I would have no idea what sort of strategy or that level of competition, what comes into play mentally. Was there anything that you were able to take from your training for road marathons or elite Olympic marathons and transition that into these competitive ultras? Did you enter Western States, for example, with any sort of confidence with your mental game or your ability to play with other competitors?
Very great question. I think that that's something that I learned from my coach Jack Daniels, that you have, no matter what, you have to run your own race. I remember the morning of Olympic trials when I had coffee with Jack, and we're sitting just 3 hours before the Olympic trials, and he just kept reminding me that I was going into that race ranked 42nd. So I don't think anyone really expected me to do very much. I was coming off an injury, as well as I was a new mom. So not too many people expected me to do much at 2008 Olympic trials. But he looked at me and he said, my nickname is Chewy. He goes, Chewy, you're ready to run 2:30, and you need to just go out and run your own race. And whatever you do, just give yourself a shot at placing as high as you can with that 2:30. You're capable of running that. You can't control anybody else. You can't control anybody else's training. Just go and do what you're capable of. And ever since, I've done that. I've done that day and beyond. That is what I take to my races, just the confidence and just doing what I'm capable of, which, takes a lot of pressure off at the end. And I took that same approach. Ian really was a very fundamental person in guiding me through that process, because I was extremely intimidated by the distance. But he did a great job just getting me to the line, confident in what I was capable of doing, and nothing more, nothing special.
So were you worried at all about the distance, the 100-mile distance? What would happen to your body? What would potentially happen with nutrition or any of that kind of stuff? Or was the worry put aside and you just were able to focus?
I did worry quite a bit. I was nervous. I was intimidated and nervous by the distance. I felt that I've done 200Ks leading up to Western States, so I was feeling pretty good about 60 miles. I practiced my nutrition. Things were definitely, under my control. I felt like, I can just get through the river. I should, I'm going to enter the unknown,
Right.
which I was a little bit afraid of. However, a lot of, things didn't go right in my race at Western States. Me going, of course, really, suddenly I forgot about everything else that I was worried about. And that became the focus of during the race. How do I get myself back into that race? Getting, of course, and to be honest with you, all the other stuff that I worried about were no longer a priority. So I completely forgot about it. I made sure that my nutrition plan was as simple as possible, so I wouldn't have to think too much. I also was resisting the fact that I might have to change shoes and socks. I just felt like that was really unnecessary. I was wrong.
Got it.
So a lot of little things along the way just gave me a reason to concentrate on small chunks of the race. And I really forgot about the mileage. Although, when it got dark and I was approaching the final stages of the race, I kept just telling myself that I could have been done by now, because I went off course, and I really was not in the mood of, to run 102 miles that day. So I had to play little games in my head to stay positive. But I felt like I digested the race really well into small portions, and it got me through it.
Yeah, let's sort of talk about your Western states then, kind of as a whole, maybe even walk through it piece by piece, because I haven't heard any of the stories from your race. I kind of wanted to keep it to when I actually got to talk to you. Um, a lot of stellar athletes towed the line this year. Michelle Yates, I know, led from early on in the race. What was kind of going through your mind? Kind of walk us through your Western States experience, and yeah, take us to the river and take us into the night, because and take us what happened when you went off trail. Like I want to hear these stories. Kind of walk us through the day for you.
Yes, the first climbing, starting from Squaw Valley and just looking up and knowing that you're going straight up was, I think that was probably the most intimidating part. That is the start of a 100-mile race. That just seems so unreal. And, you know, the rest of it is just downhill. That's what everyone just get to the top and it's all downhill.
That's it. Just coast. Just coast on down.
So I kept telling myself that, but no, my mantra was really to be conservative. I knew that Stephanie Howe is going to run very, very smart. So on the first climb, I wanted to make sure that I was still running my race, but I was not, too far ahead of Stephanie as well, because she runs really well. So getting to the top, I felt I was with Mike Wardian for a while. I had good company, and I felt very comfortable. You know, I hiked portions of it. I ran the most flat part on the first climb, but did a lot of power hiking. Just really made sure that I got to the top with my heart rate really under control. And then just, you're running, just rolling hills for a while. I knew that I was going to see my crew at Robinson Flat at mile 30, and the sun was coming out. It was warm as soon as we got to the top. And later I found out that it wasn't as hot as previous years, not record-breaking heat. However, it started to be hot really, really early on.
Oh, geez.
So I know that a lot of people struggled with that, and that was probably my biggest fear, heat. Because I train really early in the morning, because the Bay Area, we're very spoiled here, and we do not get too many days where we have to deal with heat. You just get too comfortable. So I really, was concerned how well I was going to handle the heat. But I had my UltraSpire vest. What I've done is I kept the back pocket just filling up with ice at every aid station.
Okay.
Just to keep myself cool. And then I used bottles. I didn't use a blotter, mainly because I wanted to have room for ice. And I felt like I was just carrying ice from aid station to aid station. So that was my job. Just load up on ice and carry it up to the next aid station, load up again. So it gave me something to do, something to think about. But I switched my bottles with my crew, and I was feeling great at mile 30. I'm like, wow, I was right behind Michelle. I think Michelle was well, maybe I passed Michelle right before the aid station, but she was in second.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, if this is how it's going to feel, I can do another 70 miles. This is awesome. We're running in the trees, and I'm handling the heat. I know it's still early, so I wasn't overthinking. And what do? I leave the aid station and I take the wrong turn.
Oh no!
I missed a turn. It was marked. I was just too excited. There was a split, and yeah, I missed it. And I followed the woman who was in first at that time. And both of us were on this single track, just probably for a mile out, before we realized that we haven't seen any flags, which is something I've learned since then. The flags are there for a reason. Something I never really, paid attention to. So I freaked out. I stopped. I was pissed. I was a little angry. I just could not believe at that point. You're just thinking, wow, this is no longer 100 miles.
Right.
I didn't really know how far I was off course, because I didn't know where I missed it. But so I looked at my watch, and I remember getting to the split where I missed it and got on the course, and I saw a photographer, and I probably was so angry. I'm like, how far am I behind the leaders? He's like, just relax. Mile 30, are you far behind? You're like 20 minutes behind. I'm like, oh, it was just so heartbreaking. And, you know, the first thing that goes through your head, do I hammer the next, 10 miles and try to catch him?
Oh.
And Stephanie was about 20 minutes ahead of me, and Emma Roca was probably another 10 minutes or so. But, I took a deep breath, and that became kind of the focus for the next whatever, till I was going to get up there to the front. So I didn't really think about the heat anymore. I thought about the 102 miles quite a bit. But it really gave me something to do. And I remember going to the next aid station and running into Megan from I Run Far, and
Yep.
it's like, just remember, this is 100 miles. It's a long race. Just relax. I'm like, okay. But I was a little fragile. I load up on ice, and really, I had a system with my feeling where I don't think I spent more than, a minute or maybe less at each aid station. I had a concentrated drink, Racting drink from Go in one pocket, and I just kept refilling on water. So all I needed was ice and water at each aid station, and it went very, very smooth. So I just kept moving. And it wasn't until Forest Hill that I caught up to Stephanie. And Stephanie was having a hard time going up, and I ran up to her. We chatted for a couple seconds, and she was power hiking up a hill, and I tried to get her to run with me. I mean, I've been in races where I did not have a good time, and it's when you're at mile 60, that's really early on not to feel good. My job was to get to Forest Hill, and everyone said, whatever you do, get to Forest Hill with running legs, and that was one of my goals. Be able to run from Forest Hill, and that is at mile 60. So I tried to encourage Stephanie as much as possible, and was really hoping that she would have a great race as well. I mean, we're all in it together. We're all friends, and we always wish each other the best. And watching her the year prior was extremely inspirational, and was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this race. So I picked up a pacer at mile 60, but by then my knee started to hurt a little bit. It was it's so hot in the middle of the day out on those trails, and you're going through all the canyons, and you're running a little different. Like your shoes are soft. You're out there for a while. Now I'm entering part of my racing that I've never entered before. I'm going past mile 60.
Yeah.
So I'm a little nervous, and when I get nervous, I don't talk much. I become very quiet. So I pick up my pacer. I'm really stoked to have Jason Hill. I was so happy to see him and see all of my friends and family at Forest Hill. But I was pretty quiet. I think Jason, tried to entertain and say a few things here and there, but I was pretty short. I was just, okay, just eyes on the road. I wanted company, which was really nice, but I really didn't say much. And I really wanted to get to that river. That was going to be my incentive. Just get from Forest Hill and just get in that river, because it was going to feel so good.
Yeah.
And so we made it, and I think I started to gain quite a bit of lead. And by the time we reached the river, I think I had over 20 minutes on Stephanie. And I think Casey was starting to run pretty quick from Forest Hill too. So she was starting to gain on Stephanie. And my husband met me right across the river, and he gave me two well, two pairs, two shoes, one pair of brand new shoes and socks. You gotta get into new shoes. I was like, that's such a waste of time. He goes, just sit down. Just sit down. You're gonna really enjoy this. And boy, was he right.
Yeah,
Felt
the
so
new pair
good.
just changed everything.
Wow, it changed everything. It felt really, really good, and I was
Wow.
so stubborn about even considering it, but a new pair of socks, and I felt like a brand new person. It did. I guess at mile, whatever, 60, 70, it doesn't take, or 72, it doesn't take much to make you happy. So after that, it got dark pretty quickly. And again, this is my first time running in the dark. And it wasn't as much fun as as I hoped when you're running the last 20 miles in the dark. The moon was out, and it was full moon, which was pretty cool. So I tried to really just take that all in. But I did a lot of power hiking throughout that last 20 miles. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that I knew I had a lead, and I was trying to be really smart. And then I was just kind of disappointed that I went off course and that I no longer was going to run a true 100-mile pace or time, that it didn't really matter what I ran. So if I ran 19 minutes, a sub 19 or 18:40, it wasn't really 100-mile time. So in the back of my mind, I was already thinking, well, I have to come back and run 100 miles and try to run, what I'm capable of 100 miles. And then the final, just hitting the final bridge, No Hands Bridge, was incredible. Just seeing that place lit up and music pumping. I thought I was just like 2 miles away from the finish. That's what it felt like. It just felt so close and so within reach. And from that moment on, I could just visualize myself entering the track and just seeing everyone in the finish line and picturing, the people that have finished before. And it felt good. And I was really, really proud of the effort. And just that whole journey was so worth it, just thinking about all the big runs I've done and training runs and the people that along the way that really were a huge part of why I was doing it. Felt really good. And Trayson was, again, someone that I thought a lot about and had a brand new appreciation for what she has done, because to win that race so many times is incredible. And she's one tough person, one tough competitor.
Mm-hmm. What was it like hitting that track and knowing that you had first place and the first 100 finish? How did that feel?
Well, I think that the feeling of crossing a finish line when you accomplish something so big, it's something I didn't get a chance to do at the Olympics, even crossing the finish line, because I DNF'd. That you can say that this was huge for me. This was such a big accomplishment, and it felt just so good to see so many people in my community that just were there at the finish that I have seen just passing on trails. Or my husband owns a running store, and I used to work at the running store. So just the faces, the people that I have seen, for the past 15, 20 years, just be around, my coworkers, my family, my son, was finishing the last 300 meters with me. It was just so special. And it's just a memory that will live with you forever. And it's, I always tell myself, and it's something that my coach always reminded me, it's really not about the wins. It's really not about the medals or PRs, but it's just, it all comes down to, just that process and what you go through. And it's just so worth it, no matter what place you finish.
We got a great question in here in the chat room from Raul, regular viewer. What's going on, man? Talking about carrying the thought of your children. Was that a factor for you at all, like to push through some of those dark times and having to fight back after going off course for a little bit? Did you keep your family in your mind and use that as positivity?
Oh, I do that every single race. I think that, it's one of the reasons why I think I made the Olympic team is, I had a just brand new level of inspiration to, to train and be the best that I can be and really make, someone that, that you're raising. And I want him to be proud of me. And I want to set a good example. So you have a different reason to get out the door every morning. And same with each race, when things get really rough, and they always do, you always have, low patches and high times. Every race has it. I always think of, my son got up at 4 a.m. and he was at the start, and he's at every aid station almost. This is not a time to feel sorry for myself. This is, I got to stay strong. So you definitely find just a reason to do your best, and as long as you can do that, you're a winner.
And you mentioned community as well, and I know the Bay Area has one of the best running communities that I've ever witnessed, and a lot of friends up there that really tout the benefit of the community. How big of a role did they play in your performance that day?
Oh, huge. I the year before I paced Alex Varner.
Mm-hmm.
The last 20 miles, and the Marin community, I go out and run the TAM Summit on each Wednesday morning, or as much as I can. And leading up to Western States, now I'm surrounded by people that, like 3 or 4 people that finish in the top 10, and national champions, just studs, and and I keep chasing them up the mountain. And when it got closer and closer, to Western States, I would never tell them that, but I always imagine them being girls.
No, well, Alex Varner, I've had him on the show before. He's about as close to a girl as we're gonna get. Yeah.
Yeah. These are the women I have to chase. No, just kidding. No, they've been. They're gonna get a good kick out of it, but they've been a huge inspiration and just a huge part of why I fell in love with with all the races. And I've learned a ton on each of the runs. From they're just such great people. I mean, such a great community. And I wake up at 4:50 every Wednesday and drive my butt over to Mill Valley just to be in their company, because it really makes me a better runner. And I feel like I don't want to miss out on this great journey, and they have something special going on. And at the same time, here in Oakland, I have a few groups of runners, as well as my husband owns a running store, Transport. So I'm just surrounded by really great people. I've known Ann Trayson since I was a very young research assistant at GU when Ann used to come in and pick up her product and talk about nutritional planning for races, and I could barely comprehend what she was doing. I mean, it was just so foreign to me, but always an inspiration. And to this day, I see her on trails and at the store, and your community is everything. It's why we do it. And I feel like the trail running community has only gotten stronger and just a lot more inspirational, probably due to Instagram and Facebook and shows like Ginger Runner.
Yes, yeah. Actually, exactly.
Yeah.
Ann Trayson's such a legend, and hope to get her on the show someday. And it's, you're not the first person to mention her on the show and being inspired, and she's just a continuing inspiration for many of us. Yeah, just an absolute incredible athlete. I definitely want to talk about UROC, Ultra Race of Champions. Not this most recent weekend, but the weekend before. Magda showed up to some of the same trails as well as Western States. Am I correct?
Yes.
And absolutely decimated this race. You absolutely destroyed it. How did that race compare to Western just a couple months before?
Wow. Actually, I did not have a good time at UROC, meaning I had a great time afterwards, but during the race, it was extremely tough. Ever since, sorry, I'm gonna move my computer because I'm running out of power, so I gotta connect to.
Oh, get that power. Get it.
Oh, hold on, please. Hold on.
Yeah, holding for Magda to repower.
There we go. All right, back at it. So UROC was difficult because I feel like since Western States, I have taken my recovery extremely seriously.
Mm-hmm.
That means a lot of the training that I usually rely on and get my confidence from just hasn't been there. But I felt like my body really, I needed to respect the distance and needed to respect just my entire year in terms of how many races I have done. So I haven't been training as hard as I have leading up to Western States. And when that happens, my confidence as well as my comfort level at these races just wasn't there. So mentally, it was really, really tough. I was at work till 4 p.m. The day before, and it took me 4 hours to drive to Auburn because there was a huge accident. So I was already feeling sorry for myself.
Oh.
But everybody else was probably doing this, the same thing. So nothing unusual. But I didn't feel as good going into this race. And I really wanted to drop out at the first aid station. I said, this is going to be a long, 100K, and hopefully I can pull this off. But my husband and my son got up the morning of the race, and they said, we'll see you at the first aid station. We're going to crew for you.
Wow.
So I said, well, I got to get there. It's 90 degrees, it's warm. And for some reason, I think, well, I haven't really talked to Casey about this, but we went out way too hard. I felt like we got, I think, a little bit too excited and started running with some guys that were running the 50K. Because I got through that first aid station, and Casey and I were together leading up to, to the first aid station, and I kind of zoomed through, and I was running with this guy, and literally about 400 meters past the aid station, he goes, did we miss a turn? I said, no, not again. What is it with me and getting lost? And I said, no, I see the flags ahead of us. He's like, no, those are orange flags. That's for the 100K. I'm running the 50K. And I said, I knew it. You went out too fast. So after that, again, I had to regroup and make sure that I had enough left for the rest of the race. And it was hot. It was hot. It was a hot day, and this was my third time going back to Auburn. So I did the Canyons 100K, I did Western States, and I did UROC, all on the same trails, kind of. Some of them overlap, some of them did. They did a good job going off the Western States course. So
that's good. A little bit of variation.
Yeah, great race, no doubt. I just wish that I was a little bit more prepared for that race.
I mean, it's just incredible what you were able to do from Western States, CCC, UROC. What's next for Magda? More ultras this year? Are you saving up for North Face in December, or are you going to wait till 2016?
I'm signed up for North Face, and I gave myself permission to really listen to my body in the next week or two. So it's been a week, and I'm kind of ready to commit to a training plan and to follow a routine, because it's been a while, and I thrive the best when I have a good routine that I can follow. So I'm ready mentally. I just want to make sure that my body is prepared for another 8 weeks of training. And I love that course. It's some of my most favorite trails to run on. So I have a really hard time not doing it. So I'm signed up and I'm planning on going. But if something, if something changes in the next, 2-3 weeks, I will let you know.
That's good, because I hope to see you there. It'd be really, really great to meet you in person and finally shake your hand. People have been asking in the chat room about nutrition. I know that you're the VP of Product Development at GU Energy, which I'm really curious to find out kind of what that entails. Do you use primarily GU products? And as the VP of Product Development, what do you do? What does the job entail?
Oh, great question. So yes, I have been with GU since 2000. So it's been a long time. I started as a research assistant, just helping out with literature review of sports nutrition ingredients and any topic from GI distress to overtraining to overheating to you name it. That was my job, and slowly I grew into. I went back to school. I got my master's degree in sports nutrition, and I took over the department. And as a VP of R&D, I have the privilege of coming up with new products, improving our existing products. So anytime research is updated and things in research are evolving, so they change, and we have to update our formula or recipe. But I also get the privilege of working with athletes and kind of helping them dial in their nutrition. And it's not just runners, but from mountaineers to cyclists to triathletes. I've had the privilege of working with Rini, who is a world champion in Kona, and
she's fantastic.
Fantastic runner. I mean, I've had an opportunity to go and take her on our local trails when she came out to visit, and she is a stud runner. So she's competing this weekend in Kona, so make sure you follow her. But, Rob Carrar and Max King and just Tim Tollefson, they're all GU athletes, and Alex Varner. It's just a blast to be a part of, in a very small part, but a part of their journey as well. So I have a lot of fun with what I do, and because I have the privilege of playing around in the kitchen for Western States, I made myself a custom flavor that I have been testing with athletes as well. Western States was actually the first initial place where I tested that flavor, but it was a Oractin drink, which is a high density. You've got 250 calories, all in one bottle. And you've got carbs and electrolytes, and you get branched-chain amino acids in it, and a couple extra amino acids that are useful during exercise, especially during endurance and ultra events. But I made a choice to just do that every hour, just one bottle of Oractin drink, and get all of everything I need in the bottle. Now that was a lot of people to this day are questioning how did you do that? How did you not get bored of just drinking, and were you hungry? Like, well, 250 calories per hour is what my body can handle. I've actually pushed the limit to 300 now. I've over the years I've practiced trying to get a little bit more and more, but your body has a limit of how much it can absorb and process. So I know my limits. I know what I need, and I figured that if I don't have to spend time digesting and wasting energy on chewing and making choices of what flavor of gel I want or what something else, this is going to be a great routine for me just to execute. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I had a plan B. So I made sure that my crew was prepared just in case this didn't work. But logically, it just, on paper, it made sense. And it worked out really well. The flavor was black iced tea, which goes down really easy. I can drink tea all day long. And it was extremely hot. And 250 calories from liquid is 200 calories. Well, if you get it from other sources, the only difference is it's still 250 calories, but you don't have to spend time or energy breaking it down. So it worked really well, and it went so well that we are testing it with a larger group of athletes right now, and there's a lot of interest, from the ultra community to test that flavor in Rock-Bean Drink, and yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to make it to the market.
Yes, please. And if you need another tester, do not hesitate in sending it down here. Black tea sounds awesome.
Sounds good.
We drink the grape Roctane a lot because it's a great source of calories. Real easy to drink and just get the calories right in. Well, I have to interrupt because the chat room's going crazy over asking what the owl is behind you. What is its origin? What is its story? They're afraid it's going to come alive.
Oh my God. Well, the owl, it showed up for Christmas one day. It's full of quinoa. It's my storage, a good friend of mine. It's it's a storage container, and it's got quinoa because it's a staple of my diet. I eat quinoa for breakfast, for dinner, and I make it sweet and savory, and it's a great. Well, we use it as a grain, but it's more of a seed, and it's complete protein, and it's got lots of good amino acids in it and great carbs.
You just made the entire chat room very happy because they were very impressed by the owl, but were also very concerned as to what its origins or what was inside of it. So it's good to know that it's quinoa. And people are also saying, what about a pumpkin spice flavor or holiday flavors? Is that something that GU is looking at doing?
Oh, great question. We've done it. It's just it's all about timing. You have to release it during the holidays. And a lot of people are asking for chocolate mint to come back, so we might have to do it off season since it's such a. People have been asking for pumpkin spice, and we have it. We have it in the kitchen. We have it ready to go. It's a matter of just releasing it.
Yeah, and I know that the salted caramel, which is also one of my favorite flavors, that was a limited edition flavor at the time, right? And then it just blew up and became a full-fledged thing. I
know it's still going very strong. If you like that flavor, it's still one of our top favorites. And if you like that flavor, we also have in Roctane vanilla spice and sea salt chocolate, which are our two newest additions to the Roctane line.
It sounds really, really good. We are approaching the end of our show. Those of you who are watching live, if you have some questions for Magda, ask them away. We'll ask a couple of them in the post show. I am so excited that you were able to join us tonight, Magda. It's fantastic to hear your Western States recap and to know about how that kind of translated also into the UROC 2 weekends ago. You're blowing up this year. You're doing incredible things. I can't wait to see what you do in the coming years. You're an incredible athlete, and it's, again, an honor to have you on the show. As a new guest of this show, I have a little segment I call Quickie Question Quiz, where I have a series of the same questions I ask every guest, rapid fire, the first thing that comes to your head. It's very easy. You let me know when you are ready, and I'll just get started.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'm ready. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's such an honor to finally be here.
Yeah, of course. And a big shout out to your sponsors as well. I wanted to make sure Hoka 11, Ultra Aspire, GU Energy, Stance Socks. Am I forgetting any?
I think we're good.
Awesome. All right, so here's the Quickie Question Quiz. You let me know when you're ready, and I'll just get started.
I'm ready.
What was your very first race?
It was a cross-country race in Long Beach, California, in high school, as a senior in high school.
Your favorite running movie?
Oh, favorite. Endurance with Gabriel Selassie.
Trails or road? This might be a tough
one.
Trails. Oh, trails. Your favorite place to run?
I would have to say that my favorite place is Marin, and it's on the mountain, not Marin Headlands, but just getting to the top of Mount Tam.
Bucket list race?
Oh, Mount Fuji in Patagonia. The list goes on, but I'll stop.
A guilty pleasure television show.
Uh, it's oh gosh, it's the Shark Show. What is it called? The Shark Show.
Shark Week on the Discovery Channel?
No, it's the business show. Why am I blanking?
Oh, Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. Yes, thank you.
Your favorite pre-race meal?
Oh my! So I do a bowl of quinoa with a little bit of honey and some almond butter, but about like 3 to 4 hours before.
Your favorite post-race indulgence?
Anything with eggs and salt and avocado. So an omelet sounds delicious. Salty.
And salty, yeah. And finally, what are your current running kicks, your current go-tos?
My current go-tos. You mean shoes or?
Shoes, yeah.
Oh, my ATR Challenger and Speedgo. Those are my two favorite shoes on trails.
And that is it. You survived.
I survived. All right.
You survived it. A big thanks to Magda Boulet. Stick around if you want to watch a little bit of the post show. We'll keep her on for just a couple more minutes to answer a couple of your questions here, rapid fire. Magda, where can people find you on social media so they can follow you, stalk you, ask you questions after the show is complete?
Yes, I've got a website, magdaboulet.com, on Instagram and Twitter, Ron Boulet, and Magda Boulet on Facebook. So pretty easy to find.
Go show her some love. Thank her for being on the show, and follow her across social media. Big shout out to Randy. I appreciate the beer, Randy. Thank you for sending this to me. And if you haven't already, go to youtube.com/thegingerrunner. You guys are already there. You're already on the YouTube channel. Check out the video that I posted last week called Wonderland, where I follow Gary Robbins around Mount Rainier as he gets the fastest known time on the Wonderland Trail. Very, very proud of it. It's a 30-minute feature, the longest film to date that I've actually ever edited. There's a behind-the-scenes feature as well. If you would like to get that, you can go to gingerrunnerstore.com and get that. But just go watch Wonderland. I'm really proud of it. I hope you guys get to enjoy it. Every single Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here. We're doing Ginger Runner Live. Got some great guests coming up in the weeks to come. Another big shout out to Magda for joining us tonight. Stick around, everybody. We're going to do a real quick post show with her here in just a moment. Hope you're getting out there training hard, racing harder, and partying the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next week. Subscribe. Goodbye. Excellent. Magda, we are now in what's called the post show, where we're still live and people can just kind of ask questions. We have a number of questions that people have been asking that I wasn't able to get to in the live show. If you guys want to ask those questions that are watching live, go ahead and ask them again in the chat room, but I have a couple already kind of queued up here. Yeah, I was really curious what gear you used, Magda, as far as shoes, because I've been using I don't have them around me, but the Challengers I've been using a lot. I used them in my first 100 and they were great. Is that what you used at UROC, CCC, and Western, or?
Yes, I have used the ATR Challenger exclusively in racing this year, starting with Sean O'Brien 100K and just all the way through, the CCC, Western States, the Canyons, as well as UROC. So, and I plan on racing it at North Face. I love that shoe. It's such a great combination of just the traction, the cushioning. It's a little bit stiffer than the Clifton, which is great. And it's a great combo. When you hit a little bit of roads in races like UROC, it did really well on roads as well. So it's a nice, versatile shoe. I do train in different models as well because I like to mix up my my shoes. I think that it's not just specificity like where you're running, but also your muscles get a break from from using the same model. So I jump in speed goats on trails, but I love the Huacas as well as the Clifton just on on shorter runs and when I run from the house.
Yeah, as a reviewer of gear, I tend to rotate through shoes very often, and I think it's a huge benefit. Not everyone gets that opportunity, but if anyone watching live does get to rotate between a couple pair of shoes, I love it. I think it's super beneficial to not wear down any particular muscle too much at any given time. People are dying to see you because they are loving you. You're super nice and super sweet. People are falling in love with Magda during the show. They want to see you do I had a segment on my show that I haven't done in a long time because I kind of was like, I don't want to be too negative, but it's called Runner's Rant, where people could rant about something that maybe bugged them. For example, people who don't pick up their dog poop on the trails. Like, that's a very common runner's rant. Do you have any runner's rants that you can think of in your mind that maybe things that are like, oh, I want to address this and put it out there, so maybe people think about it next time it happens or anything like that?
Well, oh gosh. I think I always get dirty looks when I have to pee right before the race, and I pee in the bush. People give me a strange look. I'm like, well, what are you expecting? The race is about to start. I gotta go. So I have seen it all. I feel like you're not the only person to have that, Magda. I think men and women have had to have that same instance. So yeah, there we go. I've done it like 2-3 minutes before a starting line, and I always try to find a nice little bush.
Running poles or no poles? Have you used poles yet?
Oh, great question. I just got my first pair of poles from Black Diamond, probably a couple days before CCC, but I haven't used them in the race yet. Yes, that is probably the exact pair that I have.
The carbon Z poles?
Yeah, Z poles. Yeah. That's right.
They're great.
And love them. However, I've only used them twice on a hike after the race because I wanted to see like how much of a difference it makes. Well, I've got some work to do. Absolutely will embrace them and try to get really good at them because I think that they're huge. You can transfer some of that pounding from the legs to upper body, and if you can get to a 3,000 feet climb to the top of it with a little bit more energy in your legs, if you can spread it out, more power to you. I think that's going to really come to your advantage later in the race. Makes sense.
These saved me I did my first 100 a month ago, Cascade Crest. These saved me. There was a time when I was literally hunched over on them, just trying to move forward. They absolutely saved the day for me. Yeah. Antonio A in the chat room, Magda, as a former road runner, do you have any advice for a road runner who is looking to get into their first trail race?
Absolutely. Become familiar with vertical. It's something I never really considered, paying attention to as a road runner, but vertical has made the difference. So now I not only do I pay attention, but I also make sure that I incorporate some downhill intervals and running. Nothing too crazy where you're going to get injured, but a slow progression to running faster on the downhills. As a road runner, you either run flat or you climb hills, but you never hammer the downhills. It's important to get your quads strong enough to be able to handle a lot of the descents. The descents are what usually keeps people from doing well when transferring to ultras from roads.
What about nutrition wise? Is there anything people are talking about? How do you figure out your calories per hour? I can't imagine there's a formula, but how would you make that transition for them to kind of figure that stuff out?
So yes, with nutrition, especially if you're coming from roads, you're coming from a marathon, you're used to taking in fuel during a marathon. I was really well trained to take something, whether it was a gel or a drink every 5K. Usually you have 8 of them, so you take a little bit at a time. For me, you have to learn what works for you. There are general guidelines, and most people can absorb anywhere between 200 to 300 calories. Cyclists can take up to 400 calories per hour. Now, you have to remember that you're burning a lot more than that. You're utilizing more calories than that. It's just, this is the limit of what you can absorb. So you will always be in a deficit, right? So try to figure out what your limit is and then spread it out as frequently as possible. I think that puts the least demand on your stomach. Trying to just get 200 calories every hour, all on an hour, that's a big demand on your stomach. If you can spread that out every 10-15 minutes by either sipping, whether it's your gel or it's your drink, or whatever your choice or combination, find what you like and find also how frequently you need to spread out the calories to put the least amount of demand on your digestive system. Running is tricky. The mechanical demand of you going up and down really puts a demand on the digestive system, and you have to remember that there is less blood going to digestion, and you want all that blood flow to go to your working muscles. So don't put too much demand on the gut.
Randy Cafaro asks, any lessons learned from Western states? Because I'm assuming you're going back next year. You got the automatic golden ticket to come back next year. I'm assuming you'll go back?
I would love to come back. Yes, I would love to come back and really improve on my time. What I've learned at Western states is that 100 miles is not that far. That it's doable, that if you properly, prepare for it, that it's manageable. It's still far, but it's manageable, and that I can actually do well in heat. For myself, that was a big, scary, unknown how well I was going to do in the extreme heat. And that there are ways to prepare, even when you live in areas that don't get extreme heat, there are ways to prepare for that race.
Well, again, Magda, I really appreciate you stopping by. We're going to kind of wrap up the post show. I want to let you get to your family, and I know we got dinner cooking here and stuff like that. So remind people who are watching, continuing to watch now, where can people find you on social media, just so they know?
Twitter and Instagram, Run Boulet, Magda Boulet on Facebook.
Go follow her, people. Go follow her. And if you have any residual questions that I didn't get to ask, because I know some are still coming in, reach out, because she's fantastic at responding, and she's a huge resource for fantastic professional information. You do not want to pass up the opportunity. Thank you, Magda. Thank you for joining me tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And for those of you watching, we'll see you guys next Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Ginger Runner Live. That is it. Hope you guys have some fun tonight. Go for a run or sit back and watch football or something. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Cheers.